Last Halloween, Offset dropped a new Halloween rap album, which is something that he has done one other time with Metro Boomin and 21 Savage. He dropped Without Warning on the Halloween of 2016. Now, he kind of pump faked me because I was like, holy crap, new Offset album. It's Halloween. It's Without Warning too. Sadly, though, that didn't freaking happen, and it was Haunted by Fame. Now, this is also like I want to say I'm gonna double check myself that this was like a couple months maybe after he just dropped Kiari, which if you can find the review on here, I did one on there on this album too. It was a couple months. It was the Kiari dropped in August. This dropped in October. It was literally like a couple months, almost on the day of. But Kiari was a very polished album. I do think if I did a review on it now, it would be a lot better than my because I think all my newer reviews have been older than or have been better than my older ones. But that one I have a little more to say about now. Kiari was a very solid project. It wasn't better than Set It Off, and it wasn't amazing, but it was very solid. A lot of high points and a lot of kind of I guess I want to say like different, more polished side of Offset music that wasn't necessarily. I don't want to call it generic, but maybe could have like pushed the gas pedal a little more. Haunted by Fame kind of has the same problem. This feels like something that he kind of had 12, like 11 songs, and was just like, I don't want to hold on to these, so I'm just gonna drop them. And like maybe they were throwaways from his last couple albums. That's kind of what they feel like, because even though it's a Halloween album, there's still R&B cuts on here, which is whenever I'm listening to it, I found odd. But that's not to say that there aren't some good songs on here. Free Pick, that intro is pretty strong. Haunted by Fame is a good song. Okay, is good. No Sweat's good. Fashion Icon's pretty good. You Dig is another good one. Headhunter is another one that I really like. I just wish it was longer because it's really short. Um, it's all just pretty good. None of it's like amazing. The only parts I don't like is I don't like No Cap on Name, and I heard is fine. I'm not the biggest Young Boy Never Broke Again fan, but him and Offset do seem to be dogs because they've got like 2 or 3 songs together at this point. I don't want to say that it feels rushed. I think to me it feels more like it is kind of just a generic follow up that he wanted to drop just because he had extra songs left over and he just wanted them to come out, and he was like, you know what, it's Halloween, drop a Halloween album. I will say the lack of chart success for this, which is usually something that I don't talk about much on these because ultimately it doesn't matter, but I don't even think it like sold 8,000 copies, which is really weird. I mean, none of these songs like give off hit or nothing like that, but it definitely like part of that is probably because it was like just dropped after Kiari, and a lot of people probably like, oh, he just dropped an album. What do you mean he just like? What do you mean he dropped another one? You know what I mean? But like I said, I do like this project pretty good. I think there is a lot to like here, not necessarily because it's anything out of the ordinary for him. Like it is kind of to a certain extent a little generic. It's kind of like a cheesy B horror movie where like it's enjoyable, but not because it's great. It's enjoyable because it's more fun than it is anything. But it's definitely not a bad film. You know what I mean? I like some cheesy B horror movies. You know what I mean? They come out every once in a while and they can be enjoyable. And I think that's more of what this album is. I mean, the flows here and a lot of the good production is here. Like it does feel like certain songs that kind of do feel like they were supposed to be on a Halloween album do feel kind of dark and gloomy and flowing nice, more like he's like just angry rapping, like like with the bars and with the lyrics, just stuff like that. And there's only about 3 of those is like kind of the point that he's like, oh, I have these 3 songs. They're a little too dark and gloomy to put on Kiari, and I've got some other throwaways off that project to make a Halloween album. You know what I'm saying? Like the idea of it was definitely rushed, not necessarily the music of it. I don't like Lil Dump either. I don't know what is Offset's deal with not having good features sometimes, but like Lil Dump and Young Boy and No Cap, they're all fine on here. I shouldn't say that. A lot of the features on Kiari were a lot better. But yeah, I do think like this they're like I said, Haunted by Fame and the intro and what was another one I said, Fashion Icon, are strong songs. Not necessarily anything that's going to blow you out of the water, but just something fun to listen to. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's only 11 songs. It's 23 minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that is supposed to give you conceptual exploration. It's quick, it's punchy, and it's traditional. You know what I'm saying? That's actually a perfect word that I wish I would have wrote down on my notes. It's traditional. Very traditional trap album that we've got here. I also think it is definitely Offset at his simplest form, kind of not really any of the kind of creativity that not that Offset's the most creative rapper in the world, but like taking out a lot of what kind of makes him sound unique-ish is kind of just him just straight rapping. You know, I think that's one of the strong points of his last two projects, not counting this one. Like, Set It Off has a lot of different songs where like Offset is at least like committing to a type of sound a little bit more, not necessarily like breaking out of his comfort zone, but if that makes sense. And yeah, this album is definitely a step down from his last two for sure. I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. Again, this album review is kind of shorter, but because of like the kind of lack of complexity to it, that does make it a lot less. There's a lot less I can talk about here. It's hard to come up with things to say about an 11-track album that this is trap music at its very simplest form. Like, if you like hear another person kind of insult like trap music for being so simple, this is something that they could bring up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no real, like, he's not talking about anything, but it is enjoyable. There's some hard beats. I'm not going to act like you don't flow good. Offset's flow is, iconic, and it's amazing here a lot of the time. Most of the time, even. But there's a couple parts where it does fade away. I think the You Dig, hook is kind of bad, even though the rest of the song is pretty good. OK's hook is not that good either. Another problem, it is mostly at the fault of Lil Dump, but I don't like Offset on there as much either. And, some of these other songs that definitely could have been something are too short. Like, Headhunter could have been, maybe 20 more seconds and had some fire bars in there. Bree Pick could have been longer. No Sweat could have been longer. Fashion Icon, pretty good song, actually. I'd say Fashion Icon's my favorite song off of here. But I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 5, honestly. Do I want to give it a 5 or a 6? I'm going to give it a 6 because there's also some replayability here, like I said, because of the simplicity. You can play these songs in an environment with your friends, and one of them's probably going to bang to it, you know what I mean? It's a good bump here and there. So, yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Another daily upload down for the mother effing count. Join the Discord, you get notified. You can also hit the bell, hit the subscribe, like, comment, do all that good stuff. I love you guys.